Hello, peeps, and those on replay. Yeah, baby. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And I'd like to also welcome our new members. Welcome to the group, The Art of Powerful Alignment, Body, Mind, Life Transformation. You got to bear with me because the name of the group is in transition. I'm trying to figure out specifically what it is that we do. I mean, it's talking about aligning your body, mind, life to a mission, vision, and a purpose beyond you so that you can live powerfully past stress, anxiety, and depression so that you can transform and have your best year ever. I'm going to give a moment so that people can sign on. Let me know where you are tuning in from. Pardon my voice. I've been coming down with a little something. So I want to make sure that you guys have all the information, all the necessary information so that you can create a transformation in the realm of your mind and your body and your life. And so let me know if this is working. Show me where you're tuning in from. Who are you? Are you in? Give me a thumbs up. Give me some likes, that kind of thing. I'm going to be, here in the Limelight Wellness Center here in downtown Vancouver, where I practice part-time just for hobby's sake as a chiropractor. For those of you who haven't met me before, hey, Heidi, what's up, girl? For those of you who haven't met me before, my name is Dr.Nima Rahmany, and I am a chiropractor / mental optimization coach. And what that means is I take professionals who are stressed, depressed, and anxious, and I help them transform and have their best year ever. I help them face their truth. I help them uncover the lies, the delusions, the deceptions that are actually contributing to their health problems, creating mind, body, all sorts of crappy stuff like, anxiety and depression. And I help people restore their lives, to get their lives back and to repair different broken parts in their lives so that they can live powerfully and on purpose. And so today we're going to be talking about anxiety. Emo de Durand Alegría. Hello, good to talk to you. Good to be here. Let me know where you guys are signing in from, because I'm talking about something that is very personal to me. It started back when I was a teenager and I was trying to fit in and I was experiencing social anxiety. And so I really started my personal development journey in high school, where I started reading Tony Robbins because I was tired of feeling anxious all the time and worried about what other people are thinking. What's up, Texas? Mode. And I was constantly worried about what other people are thinking of me. So I went on this journey of personal development because I really wanted to master this thing. I wanted to master this thing called the mind-body relationship. And in my career as a chiropractor, doing my own personal development, as an entrepreneur, you are growing and you're expanding and you experience varying degrees. We all have it of anxiety, and it was extremely challenging for me. So I just went all into personal growth because I wanted to solve this for myself. And what I discovered was that patients who were coming in to see me with chronic problems, stress and anxiety, and the way they were handling it was partially responsible for their physical ailments. And I was it was a breakthrough for me. So what I did was I made it my business to create little workshops for people so that they can learn the tools, so that they can heal themselves. Hey, Eric, what's up? They can heal themselves, and then they would get better outcomes in the office. Because if you try to convince me that the mind and the body are not linked, I wouldn't believe you. If you don't believe me that the mind and body are linked, try having a sexual fantasy in your mind, which is a thought, and see what happens in your body. So you can't convince me that the mind and body are not linked. That's why conditions like generalized anxiety are also tied into digestive disorders. So you won't find one without the other. It's also tied into depression. These are not separate entities. These are all part of a global lack of wellness. you will get cancer, you will get diabetes. All of these problems all happen as a result of having too much cortisol and adrenaline in your bloodstream. So what do? Well, we got to examine and identify what it is, because the current prevailing belief right now is that anxiety is a disorder that we need to treat from the outside. And when you have it, the problem is, if you go to the doctor with this problem because you're anxious all the time, you can't sleep, so that they say, oh, insomnia, there's a pill for that. My digestion is shot, oh, there's a pill for that. There's one pill for every single thing. And then we label these people, oh, you have generalized anxiety with so-and-so, and you have this with so-and-so. But you're an ecosystem, I want you to understand. You are an ecosystem that has an ability to thrive. And when you see a group of trees that are not working well, do we blame the tree for it and say the tree is diseased? Or do we look at the environment, the toxins? It's the same thing happening with us. So what's going on here? What is it in our environment that's creating anxiety? And it's how we eat, how we move, and how we think, and how things basically occur in our lives. The soil, yes, exactly. It's the soil, the environment, absolutely. So what I'm going to get you to consider is, in all the years, what I now do, I've created this methodology. For those of you who don't know, it's called the overview method, which helps you take really horrible things that have happened to you. And as you look at them this way, you are the victim to it. When you look at it from this perspective, all of a sudden you go from victim to an empowered human being. I just had a session earlier today with a client of mine who had had a history of sexual abuse. And for years, her story about this abuse, which happened with a family member, this resentment occurred to her that was creating anxiety, depression, and the impact of that story of abuse from her past, the victim story that she had. The impact was that now every relationship she has with men is tainted, because she feels that they don't love her enough, because the story she made out about the abuse was that I'm not worthy of love. So that belief that I'm not worthy of love, it now plays out in every relationship. 2 divorces later, several relationships later, she's still going through that same script because of what happened from her past. So the overview method, what we did with her today, we took that session and we completely transformed it. We took her from that victim state so she saw how that was the greatest gift that has happened to her, because of all the amazing things that has happened in her life that she takes credit for, and she blames all the crappy things for what happened with her family member. She now realizes that she's got to blame him as well, as what Tony Robbins said. You can see in the post that I put up in the group just recently. So if you're going to blame somebody for something, you got to blame them for all the good things. So the overview method gets you to actually feel that on a visceral level. It's one thing to affirm it, but it's not real until you go. It was a deep 2-hour session that really just, the tears were flowing. She completely healed. Her face looked completely different. So what she noticed was that her impact of her story of resentment was anxiety. So I want you to stop. If you want to heal from anxiety, you've got to stop looking at anxiety as a disorder. Because here's the problem with seeing it as a disorder. If you see it as a disorder, you then have taken away the responsibility for healing. You're now the victim to this disorder, which has probably happened from stuff that's happened in your past, which you're a victim to. And now you have this problem and you're trying to get help. And anytime, here's what happens. You go to the doctor, they label you. They go, there it is. I got anxiety. Of course I got anxiety. And then you're happy because you don't have to take responsibility for actually healing it. You keep taking pills each day, which is an affirmation that you're sick. I have no choice. My choices don't matter. I'm sick. I'm going down, my health has turned to shit. I'm going downhill and I have some crazy whack side effects from these pills, but I'm not going to face my demons. Oh, no. That's too scary. That's too uncomfortable. So the story perpetuates. So this frustration about seeing this type of client or patient, no offense if this is resonating with you, it led me to want to leave my practice and actually make a full-time stab at liberating people from the mental prison of anxiety. And what I've observed after seeing hundreds of cases and in my own life was you need to make some observations about where anxiety comes from so that you can actually take action. And you got to take action today in resolving it. Otherwise, here's what I've noticed happens. When I see a client with, and I don't take everybody on now. I get all these people who are private messaging me for help with it, but I don't take everybody on. I disqualify about 50% of everybody that I speak to, after 50 to 75%, because they're not willing to do the work and to face the reality of what they need to do. Because it's kind of like this. It's kind of like somebody who's been suffering with anxiety for a long time. It's kind of like a prisoner in jail for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. That person starts to identify with the bars, with the other inmates, with the other, the warden and all of the guards. In other words, their lives have become institutionalized. And now here they've served their 30 years. It's time to break free. When they go out in the real world, they don't know who the heck they are because that anxiety has become their identity. In other words, those types of people who aren't willing to step past their fear to break free from it have no hope in hell. I'm going to say that with seriousness, because if I'm talking to you, I hope that that really resonates, and I hope that that concerns you, because if you have become institutionalized and identified yourself with this disorder, and I know a few people, there's a few of my Facebook friends who are like that, when you present them with an opportunity to liberate themselves, they retreat. So those people are not really fit for this work. So those people will do best in support groups where they get together and they all talk about how horrible their lives are, and everybody says, "Go girl, me too, high five," and it's kind of like a misery loves company type of thing. That's one type of thing. Hey, Kat, that's one scenario. Or just keep on going back to the doctor and refilling your prescription meds. So, and I'm no judgment. There's a part of me that's kind of upset, pissed off, because, I really like when people liberate themselves and do the work necessary to do that. It's really about the people who are willing to do the work, because when you don't have it right, life sucks. Life sucks because you can't sleep at night. I remember having this paralyzing, crippling anxiety, and I just felt like this feeling of coldness running through my cerebrospinal fluid, all down my spine. It's fatiguing. You isolate yourself. You don't want to interact with other people. Your world starts to close in. You start fearing judgment about other people. You can't speak because, oh my God, what is this person going to think of me? And then all of a sudden your digestion is shot. Your world starts to close in, and then you start doubting who you are. You don't even know who you are anymore. You have lost your identity because you've lost your voice. And there was a period of time when I couldn't even speak up because I lost my voice too. And I went through a series of shifts that completely transformed me, and I found my power, my freedom, and my self-expression back. So that's what's possible. You start to feel better in your own skin. You start to sleep through the night. You start to digest food properly. You start to want to go out. You start to want to take care of yourself and do self-care. Take a shower once in a while. This is really what's possible once you make these shifts. So there's 4 considerations that I've observed that create anxiety. And once you know that, you can then start to take action. So my hope is that you'll take action today in transforming it. And send me a private message if you'd like to communicate. Please send me a private message about this. Number 1 is what I've observed is that anxiety is a distraction from resentment. Anxiety is a distraction from resentment. How do you know if that's you? Well, you ask yourself, when did you first start noticing these anxiety symptoms? Oh, it was when my father died, or my mother died, or it was when me and one of my clients came in. It was like me and a friend. We had a massive falling out, and ever since that, I've had anxiety. So that's not really a disorder. Hey, Amanda, that's not really a disorder. That is me holding on to resentment. And because the rage is so challenging for you to deal with, that your body and mind create anxiety to distract you from that rage. So anxiety is a distraction from resentment and rage. Number one, write that one down. So you want to start asking yourself, who am I holding on and harboring resentment for? Number two, anxiety is a distraction for a lie, for an inauthenticity. One of my clients who I love, I become really close with my clients. One of my clients has been holding on to a lie for 36 years. And as a result of this lie that she was too afraid to speak up about, too afraid to share with her family, her children, because of a fear of disapproval, because their reaction or their disapproval was far more devastating to her than her kind of coming clean with it. So for 30 years, she held on to this lie. And what was the impact of that lie? Eventually, her world started closing in so much she didn't even want to see them. She missed shopping for the wedding with her daughter. She misses milestones, big, huge. We can talk about Montreal right afterwards, Amanda. I appreciate that. Don't disrupt my flow here, girl. So huge resentment. I'm going to have a Q&A, by the way, right afterwards. So please hold me to that. So huge lie that she was holding on to, which was a challenge with her marriage. It was this incongruency with her marriage, and she was holding on to this lie for 30 years. That she didn't really want to tell her kids the truth, that her and her dad just aren't really. So it was, a lot of religion, a lot of religious ideals and beliefs and all that. So mix that in. And by the way, it's very common in religious people. Why? Because in religion, we have, and I was raised with a religious upbringing, you have high expectations that are placed upon you that are idealisms. And then you have a reality, which we all have a saint and a sinner within us, that we live. And this gap between who we are and this expectation of who we think we should be, that gap creates resistance. That gap creates self-judgment. That gap creates an inauthenticity because we stop being ourselves for the purpose of living up to this fantasy or expectation. And then we get anxiety because we can't be real. So anxiety is a distraction for an inauthenticity. And the second that you get real, it's kind of like the fog lifts. It's like, so what you want to be asking, if you're holding on to anxiety, is what is it that I'm holding on to? What is it that I'm withholding? What truth am I withholding? I remember there was a time where I was afraid of my parents' rejection. So I lost my driver's license because of too many speeding tickets. And so it was 2 weeks before I told my mother the truth because I knew I was afraid of her wrath. So I would visit her and I would be completely not telling the truth. I took a cab there. I wasn't telling the truth. The whole time I was freaking anxious as hell. I was like anxious and I was constantly judging myself. I wasn't present and I was nervous. I got the shakes. I was reading into things constantly. Does that sound like you? So what ends up happening is I decide, screw it. I get those feelings. All of a sudden, that feeling is, Nima, stop withholding and tell the frickin' truth. So I told the truth. It was painful. I sat down for 10 minutes hearing her wrath, and it was done. Instantly, it was done. And it was like the anxiety was exorcised from my body. It was incredible. The same thing can happen to you when you decide to get real. So It's a distraction from resentment. Number 2, it's a distraction from an inauthenticity or a lie that you need to stop withholding and tell the truth about. Number 3, anxiety will show up when you put self-care on the back burner and you say, self-care is no longer important to me. That's what happens. You get anxiety. That's the natural result of putting your highest priorities and self-care, sleep, exercise, meditation, yoga, your own interests, your own life, you telling the truth of what you want and withholding it and not putting your self-care on the back burner. Anxiety is there as a gift to bitch slap you into getting back into your rituals, routines, and becoming whole and complete within your self-care. Number 4, anxiety will show up because number 4 reason is you're making it about you. You're making it all about you. You're making it about you. And when you get into the listening, because we all have these voices in our heads that never stop. And the way that you make those voices stop is by you get into the listening of another human being and see how life is occurring for them and being of service to them. When you get into the listening of another human being, all of a sudden, your anxiety stops because you're serving. So when you're making everything about you, anxiety is there to push you to change your focus in on being present in somebody else's space. That's the gift. Number 1 is a distraction from resentment. Number 2 is a distraction from inauthenticity, or you're telling lies. You're not telling the truth. Anxiety is there to push you. Number 3, you put self-care on the back burner. And number 4, you're making it about you. Anxiety's been my dark passenger for so long, and it's not going anywhere. It will show up at the perfect time to let you know that the way that you're living and being is inauthentic. The universe, God, whatever you want to call it, rewards those who are authentic and real. That's just the way it goes. If you're not being real with who you are, and you're pretending, and you're lying, and you're not sharing that authenticity, your mind will create the perfect thing called anxiety to push you past your stories, past your selfishness, into service, into being the highest version of you, which is your mission and purpose. So what do you do? What are you going to do? You have anxiety right now. You've been diagnosed. You've been labeled, all of that stuff. What do you do? Number 1, you got to clear your resentments. Number 2, you got to tell the truth and restore integrity in relationships that are, hey, Brenda, what's up? You got to restore integrity in the broken down relationships. You're going to make a list. I made a list of all the relationships in my life, in my past, that are broken, that are love lost. And I went to work at restoring the integrity, first by clearing my perceptions, then getting into communication and sharing where I've been inauthentic and listening for feedback and what the impact was on the other person's life, and making a promise to start new with integrity, with authenticity and power. Number 3, you got to get into self-care, into some sort of a morning ritual with your mission statement, which is number 4. You have to get a cause. You have to get connected to a cause that's greater than you. Simple. You have to really create a mission statement that's in accordance with your values. And number 5, you got to get a mentor. And I'm not talking about a shrink that you're going and telling your problems every week. You got to take feedback from somebody whose opinion you give a shit about, who only sees the highest version of you and doesn't want to keep you stuck under their care for 3, 4, 5, 10 years with a diagnosis and label. That's great for them, but it's not great for you. So you have to invest in a mentor or a coach that really gets where you're coming from, that you feel understands you and has a specific strategy for getting you into a specific and measurable result, which is the highest version of you. Please send me a private message if what I'm saying is resonating to you and you want to make 2017 your bitch and have your best year ever and transform. It's not going to be for those who want to stay victim. It's going to be for those willing to do the work, the difficult work that some of my clients are doing and owning up, putting themselves on the line in relationships that have been inauthentic, and to transform those inauthenticities back into power and giving it time to heal. So there's consistency, there's accountability, strategic feedback from somebody who actually sees the highest version of yourself. Please send me a private message if this sounds like you, and we will get into communication. And I'm not going to take you right away. I do a strategic discovery call where you can have an incredible breakthrough and a transformation. And I take you through the overview method if there's a fit that's right. And I set you on a strategy. In this call, we're going to work out a strategy to see if you're the right fit to actually be free. So if you want to stay stuck in your story, that call is not for you. And a word to the wise, this call that I'm having, if you want to reach out, it's not for everyone. It's for those who are willing to invest in themselves, who really want to create the highest versions of themselves, who are coachable, who are going to do the necessary work, whatever it takes for them to get that result, and for those who are not victims. Sorry, it disqualifies. This is not for those people who are looking for a quick fix, who are looking for it to be, the cheapest cheapest thing possible. This is for somebody who's actually wanting to have a transformation and wanting to understand that it's costing them too much to be living with this problem, and they want to be free and living powerfully and aligned and on purpose, and have their businesses, their relationships feel more freedom, so that they're not actually living in this little cocoon, in this little bubble. So that might not be for everybody, but for those of you who this is resonating with, reach out to me. I'll get in touch with you. We'll set up a time and go into it. It is worth it. Marie, what was that like when we worked together and you had anxiety, depression, all of these things? What did we discover after we cleared those stories and cleared the resentments? What did you notice happen to your inner and outer being? Yes, it's important to embrace the time to heal as well. Absolutely. It takes time and effort and energy. And so in Marie's case, we saw an incredible transformation with her anxiety. She got her relationship back. She got her relationship with herself back. Self-care became even more of a priority, and she got her life back. And so thank you for having the trust in me to see that change. Are there any questions? Has this been useful? My allergies were completely gone. Yeah, consider that the food, the digestion is all shot because the anxiety and the food issue are tied together. It's not two separate entities. Yes, still with hubby. Yeah, you guys were on the verge of a breakup, and that resentment was eating you up alive. So we worked hard, and you did the work. You invested in yourself. You did the work, and I'm so grateful that you did, because I think of you often, and you don't have to be dealing with the same goddamn issue week after week. It's been very eye-opening. Mode, I know, I understand. You have to ask yourself this question. And here's the thing. For those of you who are ready to say, oh, it's been very eye-opening, but I'm not really going to take action. Consider that you're getting a payoff for your anxiety. Consider that the anxiety is protecting you from having to tell the truth, which the truth is like too uncomfortable to deal with, for you to go back and heal those past traumas you don't want to deal with. So that protective cocoon of anxiety is saving you from that, and it's getting you all sorts of sympathy from people who see you as small, because you get to play small, and everyone sees you as small and incapable. But here's the question I have. What is it costing you? What is your anxiety costing you? Because you can use that as an excuse. Oh, I'm going to use the anxieties as an excuse to not move forward in my fears. Move forward to overcome my fears. Oh, it's my anxiety. It's not me, it's my anxiety. Ask yourself this. What's it costing you in your relationships with yourself and others, in your career, in your affinity towards other human beings, in your ability to make an impact? We have this idea that we're going to live forever. We're all going to die soon. And so I decided I don't want to live another day pretending that everything was okay when it wasn't. and I wanted to address it. And I really look forward to connecting with you. If you feel inspired, send me a private message, and we will actually, one by one, show you the strategy of clearing it and see if you're ready, see if you're actually a fit. So I thank you for joining. Please welcome the new members. You should charge for these live calls. Things clear from just your dialoguing. Yes, they do. Well, you know what? I shouldn't I? But you know what? I'm blessed with so much abundance in my life that I love sharing and serving. This is my form of serving. The commercial, of course, is for those of you who feel, Gemma, that you have gained value from this, then take the next step. Join us in a live workshop, come to Montreal and learn this method in transforming it yourself, or reach out to me and let's play ball. Let's see if you're actually ready to clear this, because there's a difference between information and transformation. Information is when Maud says, thank you, it's been eye-opening. But then 1 week later, 2 weeks later, I call Maud and say, hey, Maud, how are things going with your anxiety? And you're like, nope, still in the same way. I sleep 3 hours a night. My digestion is shot. I hide from the world, and I'm playing small. Thank you for the eye-opener. Eye-opener, it doesn't. Information is different than transformation. I'm a specialist in transformation, and I love helping those transform. Prabjot, how are you doing with your anxiety and depression? Prabjot, I met in October, suffering and struggling with anxiety and depression. Hey, Bele Bele. Conchetta, what's going on, girl? How's it going? Prabjot was struggling with anxiety, depression, and she couldn't actually, she was on the brink of divorce. Now, marriages are not a picnic, relationships are not always a picnic, but she got her life back. Miss you too, hun. She got her life back. And it is a privilege for me to help people get specific results. So it's not, people say, what do you charge? And I don't really answer. I don't talk about what you charge. I get on the phone and find out what results you're looking for. And then I plan a roadmap in getting the specific results, because those results are priceless. So hopefully that's been of use to you guys. Please, if you got any questions, now is time for Q&A, and I'd love to be of service. Let me know. And if not, please message me privately and let's start the conversation. And I look forward to chatting with you at the next perfect time. And please invite others into this group and share this. They can't see this. You can't share this, this video, because it's only dedicated to those who are in this group. Why do people have anxiety? Rewind the whole thing and you're going to see why. There are 4 reasons why we have anxiety. Number 1, you have resentment that you're holding on to. In other words, you're still a victim from your past. You're holding on to that. So the anxiety shows up to distract you from the rage. Number 2, you're lying about something. Usually has to do with that whole resentment. I did a session on a gal who had a whole series of sexual trauma, sexual abuse from her past, completely cleared it. Yeah, watch it again. It's all there. Number 3, you've turned your self-care to shit. And number 4, you're making everything about you. And so whenever that happens, I get anxiety as a reminder, Nima, it's not about me, it's about others. So I get busy, I get to work, I get into action. And the last part, how do you do this? Get a coach, get a mentor, invest in a mentor that's going to stretch you past what's possible, that you create what the possibility is for you, and that we work towards living into that future self. That's the value of a coach who's going to push you past your limits. So again, send me a private message. Please feel free to comment if you have any other questions. I'm here for you, and I look forward to sharing this work with you more. Ask any questions, and I will broadcast live. I'm looking to do one at least once every day or every 2 days. Please send messages. Send messages to the private messages. Is it evidence-based? Yes, it is. I have tons of evidence of live clients, myself included. Evidence-based, yeah, there's tons of evidence that shows that dissolving resentment clears anxiety. There's tons of evidence that shows all of the methods I use is not just one. I use several different together that actually help work much better at resolving the root cause rather than medication. They call that evidence-based, but it's not really dealing with the root cause. So let me give you an example. If I keep doing this, I'm going to get red in the face, and it's going to hurt my face. It hurts if I keep doing this. Now, I can take a pill that numbs me from feeling that, that's evidence-based, and then, oh my God, I don't have any pain anymore. Wow, the pills worked. No, the root cause is still there, and I'm still precipitating it and creating it with my behaviors, with my actions, with my environment. So what I do is, instead of treating a disorder, I go in and say, what do you need to be? Who do you need to be? What do you need to do? What do you need to eat? How do you need to move in order to feel fulfilled? And that's what we work on. So hopefully that was of value to you. Let me know in the comments. Please send me a private message if you have any questions. And I look forward to seeing you at the next perfect time. Peace out.